Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back to my classroom. I am Mrs. Armstrong, and I teach elementary art at Sequoyah Elementary School in Claremore, Oklahoma. If you've missed the first two lessons, they are on YouTube. This is the YouTube title that you can look for. I've done a Monet and Pete the Cat, so if you're wanting to go back and if you've missed those two lessons, you can go back and look at those. Well, today I am introducing a new artist. She is a woman. She grew up and lived in Mexico, and more than half of her paintings were self-portraits. I'm wearing a portrait of her on my shirt. She always wore flowers or ribbons braided in her hair, and most of you probably know who she is. You've probably seen pictures of her, but you may not know her name. And her name is, forgot I have a clicker, is Frida Kahlo. And Frida was born in 1907, and she died in 1954 at the young age of 47. And as we go through the slideshow, you'll see some of the reasons why she died so young. She had a couple tragedies during her lifetime. This is an actual picture of her. She was a very beautiful woman. She was stunning. She loved her Mexican heritage and culture. And so most of the time when you saw Frida walking along the streets and the roads, she was dressed in her traditional Mexican outfit and always had her hair fixed with flowers and ribbons. And she was very beautiful. She did have very dark hair and dark eyebrows. And her eyebrows are kind of her trademark for most of her portraits. Her father always called her his little dove. She had an older sister and a younger sister, but she was the most like her father. And so in her self-portraits that she does of herself, you're going to notice that she brings her eyebrows together and they look like birds' wings. And that's kind of a way to show her dad that she's always thinking of him, and it's just kind of how she's always thought of herself as that little dove of her that her father always called her. So her father was German, her mother was Mexican, and he built them a beautiful house near Mexico City. It was about 30 minutes from Mexico City in a little town, and it was called La Casa Azul, and azul in Spanish means blue. So this is the blue house. And the blue house that she grew up in was actually shaped like a U, a block U. And so this is the front of the house. It's now a museum. But then it had sides that went off on both edges. And in that back area was a beautiful courtyard. And so this is where a lot of the trees are planted. And in Mexico, you know, there's parrots flying around and parakeets and monkeys and things like that. And so when Frida was young, she was very curious and she loved science. And so she was always bringing home little critters as pets that she would keep back there in the courtyard. Now, when she was around 6 years old, this was one of her first tragedies that happened to her in her life. She contracted a disease called polio. And polio would affect your lower extremities, and it would kind of paralyze you in a way, and you weren't able to walk. And so she didn't get to start school. She stayed at home, and her father worked with her to get her legs stronger and stronger and stronger. She did have to wear a brace on one of her legs. This is showing some children that had polio back in the day. Some of them are using crutches. Some have braces on both legs. There was a doctor in 1955 that actually developed a vaccine. So polio has kind of been eradicated. We don't have to worry about polio anymore, which is a good thing. But it was something that was pretty natural back in the day when Frida was young. And so Frida, one of her legs, she survived it. She got better. She got healthier, and her dad worked with her a lot. He put her in swimming and made her exercise her lower legs every day. And so she was able to walk. She did wear a brace. It did affect one of her legs. It made it really weak and thinner. And so she started wearing long dresses after that. So that, again, is a reason why she was always wearing dresses. So over time, she got to go to school. She was very, very smart. They said she had a photographic memory. That means if you see something or you read something, you remember it. So going through school, they saw how smart Frida was. So by the time she got to high school age, she actually qualified to go to a school in Mexico City, and it was called the National Preparatory School, and you had to qualify to get into this high school. There were only a total of 35 girls, and she was one of them that qualified to go to this school against 2,000 boys. And so at this time in her life, she loved science and she loved math. She decided to become a doctor. So about her second year of high school, third year of high school, she had to ride a bus, and it was about a 45-minute bus ride to and from the school to get back to her hometown. The bus was involved in this is her second tragedy now. The bus was involved in a very bad collision with a streetcar, and they didn't expect Frida to survive. She's done a painting. It's a little bit graphic. She's done a painting from that memory of that wreck. But in that wreck, she broke her spine. She broke her collarbone. She broke her pelvis. She broke her legs in a couple of places. And they didn't think she was going to survive. She was in the hospital for a couple of months. And then, of course, she ended back at the Blue House with her father taking care of her. Now she's 18 years old. She had to stay in bed for over a year. She was in a full body cast. And so this is when her father introduced her to painting, because all she could do was lay in bed. And so he, over her canopy bed, he put pictures, he put mirrors, and she has lots of pictures of her family around her. She worked with puppets. He devised an easel that was up over her head where her canvas could be attached, and then she laid her paint palette on top of her chest, and she began to paint. Now, most of the time, the only thing that she could see by looking up at that mirror was herself. And why she painted probably so many portraits of herself. So over time, here she is with a little child. She's painting, and he's watching. She's getting better. She's getting stronger. She is in a lot of pain, and she'll never be the same. But she does eventually get to a wheelchair, and then she's able to walk again. So there was a famous artist that had come to town. His name was Diego Rivera, and he paints huge murals on the walls about the Mexican tradition, things that had happened in the past that they were very proud of. And so she took one of her paintings to show Diego to see what he thought about her painting, because at this time in her life now, she's decided she doesn't want to be a doctor. She wants to be an artist. And she wants to find out, am I good enough to be an artist? So she takes a few of her paintings and shows them to Diego. And this one was his favorite one. It is a portrait of herself, and it's called Frida in the Red Velvet Dress. And so he starts coming to her house in the evenings when he gets off work from painting, and they start becoming friends, and he works with her a little bit on her artwork, and they end up falling in love. Well, Diego was more than half her age, and her father was not real happy with this, because remember, Frida was his little daughter that he called my little dove. And when he would look at Diego, he's kind of a tall man, he's a big round man, he told Frida, he looks like an elephant. This is like a dove marrying an elephant. But over time, they fell in love with him. He treated Frida really well. He took care of Frida, and they did get married. She was 21 when she got married to Diego. When she did this portrait of herself and Diego, she compared Diego to being the artist. And then on her, she's got the dove above her head. Now, he was in demand in the United States to paint some murals, so they did come to the United States a few times, but they did end up in New York for a while, and she lived in New York. But most of the time, she was just kind of following him around, watching him paint. Here he is working on a huge mural. They've got a big scaffolding, and so she's kind of following him around. As she walks the New York streets, she is still in her traditional Mexico clothing with her hair fixed with flowers in her hair, and people would stop and stare because she was so beautiful and she looked so different walking down the streets in New York. But she was getting really sad because she was missing Mexico. And so Diego started getting her to paint some more. He started encouraging her, well, you just need to paint some more. Well, her paintings started becoming her feelings. She was putting her feelings into her artwork. This is one that she did while she was in New York, and it shows a lot going on in the back room that's representing New York. There's factories, there's a Statue of Liberty, there's the buildings, there's fires all the time. She's hearing sirens for ambulances, the garbage trucks, things that are going on. She's in New Mexico, and in this picture, she just has her dress. It's showing she's there, but her heart and soul is not there. She wants to be back in Mexico. And here's another one, kind of showing her feeling. This is her on the border of Mexico and the United States. Mexico over here with kind of the Mayan ruins, the flowers that are growing, and then she's holding the Mexican flag, and then over here is the United States, again with pollution and the buildings and the noise. Her heart is over here. And so finally, she's around 34. Her mother had already passed away. Her father just passed away. And Diego now is ready to retire. So they end back up at the Blue House, and that's where they're going to live. And so here are some actual photographs of them. Most of these are out in the courtyard. She brings in all of her little pets that she wants to be around because she loves nature. They have dogs. She's got a little deer that she takes care of. She has monkeys. She has birds. And these are all of her influences. Now that she's painting, they're more happy paintings with her and some of her animals. Towards the end of her life, around 45, she's in a lot of pain. She's kind of back in bed. It's really hard for her to get out of bed. Her body is kind of giving out because of all the accidents and things that she had gone through. So it's really hard for her to get out of bed now. And so she starts painting what are called still life pictures. And a still life, the definition is, shows objects such as flowers, food, or musical instruments. A still life reveals an artist's skill in painting shapes, light, and shadow. And so Diego would set things up on a table, and she would lay in bed and she would paint. So some of these she's put her little animals in, and still life with her fruit. She's got a bird. This one, still life with fruit, and she's got her little dog. This one is the last painting that she painted. It's of some watermelon, and engraved on the slice of watermelon it says Viva La Vida, and that means long live life. And Frida died in 1954 at the age of 47. So our inspiration today for Frida is we're going to draw and color a parrot. One of her favorite animals was a parrot. And before we get started on this, I wanted to show the walking water from last week that didn't complete. So it's been sitting here now for over a week. And let's see if we can get this in the picture frame. And it has done its job. Can you see it? Right there. So last week we started with clear water, and we put in some drops of red. We skipped a container, drops of blue. We skipped a container and then did yellow. And then over the week, the colors have kind of walked to the other containers that were clear, and they've created the secondary colors. We started with the primary, And so now the blue and the red has made the purple. The red and the yellow has made the orange, and the blue and the yellow has made the green. So if you try this at home, it does take some time for this to happen. Okay, so we will get this out of the way. I am going to darken the background, and we are going to be ready to start our drawing. About right there? Okay, I'm going to be drawing with marker. I am going to get my glasses on so I can make sure I'm seeing okay. And there's a couple things that you can do for your parrot. I did a couple of versions. So as we're drawing, you can kind of decide how you're wanting to do your Frida or your parrot. You're probably needing to draw with a pencil and have an eraser nearby. And I'll try to do the directions so we can do step by step. So we're going to start with the parrot's eye. So your paper should be long ways, going tall. And think about where your parrot's going to be, where his tail's going to be, and then where the branch is going to be. So kind of here's the middle, go up, and let's put in an eye, so a circle. And then you can put the two little circles on the inside. And if you want to, you can use your pencil to shade that in, or you can wait when you're using crayons or markers how you want to do the eye on that. And then his beak. So we're going to do a V shape right along where the eye is. Now the beak is probably the hardest part, so don't get discouraged when you make your beak. Draw very lightly, so if you make a mistake, you can erase it. If you just can't get it right, then just pause on that. We'll finish the bird, and then you can come back and fix the beak because it's usually the hardest. It does have a little bit of a curve on the tip of it, so I just kind of curve it down. And you can put on a smaller beak, a longer beak, whatever you're wanting to do. And then you're going to bring it up a little bit and then curve it back to that center part of your V. And then the bottom beak, I'm just going to kind of just bring that in towards the bottom like that. It's kind of big. Probably shouldn't have made it that big, but that's okay. I've got marker, so I can't erase mine. So. All right, now his head. Now you can make his head all just a curve going around, or you can put the little feathers on it that stick up. I did this one first, and then I drew another one and put the little, makes him look like a cardinal. So kind of do whatever you're wanting to do on his head. So on this one, I might do a little bit of a crest on the top, kind of like drawing that. You just kind of curve it up. Add in a few little feathers, and then curve it down, and that's the back of his head. And then here is the front of his head. I'm just going to start right there and just kind of bring that down. Now his wings, we're going to make them look like hearts a little bit. So right here in the center, I'm just going to curve this one around and bring it down like a really long heart. And then on the other side, bring it down. You guys can turn on that other light if you need to, if you think this is too dark, since I turned that one off whenever I was doing the smart board. Now this wing's going to go a little longer than the first wing. And then we're going to do some little feather shapes here in the center. So I'm going to just kind of come down, back up. Come down, back up, go down, back up, and then this one's going to lead all the way down, and then this wing is going to kind of crisscross through the other wing like that. Looks like a broken heart. And then some of your feather, the color, if you're wanting the 3 colors or the 4 colors on these wings, you can kind of create these little feathers so that you can color them different colors. Right there where I've done the little down and up, that can be the little area that you can create the different colors of his feathers. I like colorful parrots. And you could look some up on the internet if you want to see some colors if you're wanting to add some colors to him. And then these are really long feathers that kind of end on his wings. So you can just kind of bring those down. Bring these across. Maybe one here in the center like that. And then his tail. We're going to do that main tail feather basically right here in the center. And then we'll do smaller feathers along the side. So I'm going to kind of just come in here and do like a main feather. And then off to the side, a little bit smaller and smaller. And then on the other side, make it kind of even with the last one. And I'm drawing from the side a little bit, so it makes it a little bit harder. And then you can do whatever you want to his face. This one, I did some little designs around it. This one, I just kind of did a little circle around it. And you can do those different colors if you want. Add some different colors to it. And then the branch, you can kind of just come up with a little wiggly line. You can make it branch off, back down. You could make this branch, the bottom of the branch, kind of come down. Make it come to a point there at the end. This could come on across. I think I'll indent that one in a little bit, and then this one might get smaller and smaller. You could branch off. And then the little leaves, the little football shape. That's how I kind of created the little leaves. You can put those leaves anywhere you want. Just be creative. Just little football shapes. And then if you want to put berries on, I just did those with my red marker. So I might add a little red marker on this. And then if you want texture to your tree trunk or your tree branch, not the trunk, sorry, you just draw some little lines and that'll create some texture to your branch. And then, of course, we need the branch to veer off over here. That might split here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of a branch here. And again, add some texture. And some leaves. And there's our parrot. And if you want to write Frida's name up here at the top. And then I'll write parrot. Frida Kahlo's parrot. And then you can choose whatever colors you're wanting to do. If you want to do this parrot in marker, you could do it in marker, crayons. These are a little bit different. The yellow came out really pretty on that one, so if you want to add some yellow to it. But this, you are free to use any colors that you'd like. You can close your eyes if you want and just choose a color and see what happens. So I picked out an orange, so I'm going to put a little bit of on his beak, there's a little bit of a little nose hole right there that you might want to add in. So this one, I might do kind of a red-orange. I may do a little bit of a color here on his beak, and then add yellow-orange. Always have to look, because you never know what you're pulling out of there. There we go. I think the other one was a little too red. And then you just start adding your colors. This one, let's try to stay in the lines when you color. But I am anxious to see how your parrots come out. I have a Facebook page. Is the Facebook page running along the bottom now? So it shows? It's on the website. Okay, so I didn't know for sure how that was going to work. I'll put it back up on the screen so you guys can see it. I'm going to use some green to color in the leaves. I'm going to leave my parrot blank right now because I want you guys to come up with your colors on what you're wanting your parrot to look like so that it's different than mine. I want to see all these different colors of parrots. And then next week, I'm going to pick a first, second, and third place of the ones that get sent in. And yours will be shown up on the smart board. And I'm wanting to see all the variety of colors of parrots that you guys come up with. And you can do a different tree branch. You can do more than one parrot. I want you to get really creative on this one. So color in your leaves, and if you want fall leaves, you can do fall leaves. You can get more leaves in the background if you'd like. But I do have a shout out that I'm wanting to do for some of the Sequoyah students that have sent in their photos. Switch it right here. Can you get that, or does it need to be a little closer? All right, last week we did Pete the Cat. I love my white shoes. And Hayden from 4th grade sent me his picture. Macy from 2nd grade, she actually had a Pete the Cat book at home that she's showing next to her picture. I love how they did the background and added some things to their picture. And then Hank from 4th grade. Also, now he did his in markers, so it's a little bit brighter. They did a great job. And so I sent ribbons to them through the mail. I was able to get their address, and those are going out today. So if you will send me your pictures on Facebook, if you will find this group, Mrs. Armstrong's art class at Sequoyah Elementary, Claremore, Oklahoma, you can send me those pictures. If you don't have Facebook, look through the school website, sequoiaheagles.net, and you can find my website and you can send it through there.